I'm really excited. There's well, during the pandemic, some folks reached out to me and asked if I would start talking about ranked choice voting. And it was something that I had heard about, especially because I ran for office in 2019 and 2020. And I remember people saying, oh, they threw in a spoiler candidate, and ranked choice voting is the kind of thing that would at least ameliorate that kind of a situation. So joining me right now on site at the Sugar Beet Co-op, we have with us Sarah Johnson of FairVote Illinois. Sarah, welcome to my impromptu studio. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
I'm excited
to meet you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you. I have to tell you that we had some folks from FairVote Illinois at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market this past Sunday handing out information. And it is that kind of grassroots organization, isn't it?
Yes, it absolutely is. It's really just an information campaign.
Right.
So many people have not even heard of ranked choice voting. And in my experience being a canvasser and talking to folks, as soon as they hear about it, they're like, why not?
Yeah.
Why aren't we using that already? What's going on?
And what do you tell them? Why don't we have it already, and what's going on?
Well, that's an excellent question.
Thank you. Thank you to the people that ask you that.
I mean, I think that for the most part, it's that the two-party system probably doesn't want it.
Right.
It doesn't benefit that system.
The status quo of more of our own holding
on. It gives us more choices as voters,
right.
And they don't want that because they need us to be afraid of the other, of just other.
Right.
And so this is something that isn't widely talked about because it doesn't benefit them.
Which is why people knowing more about it, and why when you say it's an information campaign, an education campaign, the more residents know about it, the more voters know about it, and reaching out to their electeds. Because next week we're going to talk to Senator Laura Murphy, who I know is carrying this in the Senate, and I believe Representative Cam Buckner is also working on this. So you do have electeds that are willing to take that chance, aren't they?
Yes. There is actually, I was just talking with Andrew Silva, who's one of the main people in FairVote Illinois, and he said that there are actually, it's in the, there are bills out there already.
I believe it's in committee where they have these hearings and they say, why should we move this along? And I believe in City Hall, if I'm not mistaken, Matt Martin is also carrying this legislation in Chicago.
Yeah. Matt Martin is a supporter.
Yeah.
Andre Vasquez has also personally told me that he's a fan of it, and they're using it for the participatory budgeting that they do in the 40th Ward.
Oh, perfect.
They actually use ranked choice voting for that system.
Okay.
So it's definitely catching on. There's Evanston just passed it, and it had 82% approval. Berwyn did a non-binding referendum last year that also had 82% approval. And I don't think I've ever heard of anything getting that much support.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Even the millionaires. So we voted for a millionaire tax. I don't know if you remember this in 2015. Illinoisans, and it was non-binding as well. It was just like, hey, what do you guys think? Kind of thing on the ballot.
Right.
72% voted for yes on taxing millionaires, and it never happened because we also elected a billionaire at the same rate. We voted for Rauner at 72% in the state.
Okay.
It was very strange.
Yeah.
But I think that it often comes down to, confusion about it. And then again, as you mentioned, a resistance to it from electeds. Right. Mm-hmm. It really, and I think that Alaska is probably one of the great examples of it because people fully expected Sarah Palin to be able to win that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, another thing that's interesting, I think, is the mayoral race in Chicago.
Yeah.
How that went to a runoff, and that wouldn't have been necessary.
Nope.
And that's another benefit of ranked choice voting is that we don't have this entire other election cycle for each election.
It was exhausting. I'm so tired.
And it's so much money.
Yeah.
There's so much money that's put into elections, and we can eliminate so much of that just by making a choice that first time, by allowing people to make all of their choices that first time.
I wonder how it would have turned out. I'm just thinking about it. It might have turned out like this is my guess.
I would hope so. I would think so. I think that
maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. We can't put our minds there because I'm content with the results.
Too much conjecture.
Yes. I'm content with the results and it is, I think I've been thinking about this today because it also comes down to folks who aren't even registered to vote. I think part of what keeps people out of the process is thinking their vote doesn't matter. 100%. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yes. That's kind of part of my mission. When I started working with FairVote in this area, I've been working with FairVote for a long time, but got more involved more recently because they started pushing it in Oak Park, and I live in River Forest.
Okay.
So it was kind of the perfect combination for me. But one of the things is that, with campaigning and canvassing, a lot of times people don't want to start canvassing for something that's not already on a ballot.
Right.
But I think that it's important to tell people who aren't registered voters about this process because of that, exactly, because people don't vote anymore because they're sick of the system. They don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. They don't want to participate in this ridiculousness that we call elections. And if we can get those people to get re-engaged and have faith in a new system and feel like their votes are mattering, then we're going to have more people voting. And I think what you said before about it being a grassroots movement and whether it would have changed the results of Brandon versus Vallis.
Right.
I think that Brandon won because of grassroots.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. And so that in itself makes me think that ranked choice voting wouldn't have changed it.
Right.
Because it's the people's actual choice.
Exactly.
Rather than the calculated decision of who's not going to take votes away from whom.
I know. Isn't that...
Yeah.
It's a lot. Well, that's right, because I also think it encourages people to learn more about all the candidates. Mm-hmm. And it also makes them feel like their voice had some weight to it, right?
Right. Well, and also another thing that it does is that it cuts down on the negative campaigning because people have to be somebody's second choice. Right. Third choice, fourth choice, right? So they can't just get really dirty and
don't get me started
nasty about their opponent because then they look bad.
Right.
And people don't want to vote for them for that reason. Right. So it has to be more about the issues rather than the person.
Right. Yeah, it's a great point. We were talking to our friend, now our new friend of the show, Sarah, right?
Sarah Johnson.
Sarah Johnson is one of the. Do you have a title with FairVote? I don't want to demote you.
No, I'm a canvasser.
Canvasser.
That's what I came on board as, is to knock doors and tell people about this movement.
She's a communication specialist.
Communication specialist. I like it.
For FairVote Illinois, and she works in particular in this area in Oak Park, River Forest, and talking to neighbors about how they can get involved. Let's take a break here and continue our conversation. If you have any questions or you want to chat about FairVote, you can give us a call at 773-763-9278. That's the number to call and join the conversation. Again, that number is 773-763-WCPT. More in a moment after this break on Heartland Signal.
Hi, folks. I'm Kirk Bankstead from the Minocqua Brewing Company, and I sell progressive beer like AOC IPA and Bernie Brew, a lovingly irascible democratic socialist lager. A percentage of the proceeds of each can sold goes to keep Wisconsin blue and drive the MAGA cult out of our state. Enjoy a great craft beer and help your dysfunctional neighbor to the north get its democracy back.
Now available at MP's Liquor and Wine in North Aurora, Taste, Food and Wine in Rogers Park, as well as Uprising Bakery and Cafe in Lake in the Hills. Tell Karina we sent you, and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
In your communities in Chicago.
On WCPT 820.
You are listening to WCPT 820. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez, broadcasting from Sugar Beet Co-op in Oak Park. And we are joined by Sarah Johnson, who's a communication specialist for FairVote Illinois. People from FairVote are like, she's what? You are all educators and information sharers, which means that you communicate with folks about what fair voting means. And you mentioned while we were taking a break that, because we had a couple of volunteers from FairVote at the Jefferson Park Sunday Market last week. And if folks want, if they're they're organizing an event, a fair or a market or someplace where they know it would be, would be a great place for more people to learn, how do they reach out to you and do that?
They can reach out to us on the website. There'll be information for Andrew Silva or Rebecca Ratliff are kind of the organizers around that. Specifically Rebecca. I think she'd be the better person to reach out to because she's focused more on the events.
Sure.
But yeah, just let us know if you're a supporter of FairVote Illinois or of ranked choice voting specifically and would like somebody to come out and just be there to give people information.
And so you mentioned that you are canvassing, so you're going door to door to educate folks on?
We're not doing that currently. Right now we're doing, I had mentioned during the break that there's some hesitation to canvass door to door to voters when there isn't something specifically on the ballot.
Right.
So right now we're focusing more on events and just being out there at election polling places. That's one place that we've been out there, farmers markets. We were at one of the mayoral candidate forums in the neighborhood. So just things like that.
Excellent. So if they want to request a table and invite volunteers again, let people know where to go.
Yeah, they can go to FairVoteIllinois.org.